mindful. This will be available obviously on our YouTube and on our Facebook channels. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7:36 p.m. Everybody, welcome to the June community meeting of City Island Rising. My name is John Doyle. I'll be chairing the meeting this evening. I want to thank everybody who took the time to join us today. I know there's a lot going on, but a few committed citizens can always change things. And if we all put our minds to it together. And there has been a real lot to report on lately, and particularly in the last few weeks. The board has been, and the community overall, have been extremely active in a lot of different events. As I announced earlier, because I see people are still coming in, Beverly Jones, who's our secretary, who's also on this call, she put the agenda in the chat. So if you'd like to follow along with the agenda, these are the things we have slated and planned. And again, we welcome your input throughout the process. You always, and a lot of you have actually emailed us over the last few weeks to add things, and we are adding them because we want to have that discussion with you. So the first matter to really come in here is going to be, we had a tour in the last month, as we spoke about at the last meeting. We had a tour with the mayor's office. The mayor's office, and particularly his Bronx liaison, was Miguel Rondon. If that name sounds familiar, he was Senator Biaggi's deputy chief of staff. So he knows City Island and he knows the area well. He's now went over. He is the mayor's Bronx liaison. So we had all, as you remember, there was an environmental justice report a few weeks ago, and we all submitted comments to just say we wanted consideration for some of our flooding needs. As many of you know, OEM lists us as one of the very endangered neighborhoods during climate change. Again, we all lived through Hurricane Sandy together, so you don't need me to remind you of how interesting that was if you lived at certain points on the island, and how the lobster house unfortunately lost the lobster on top of it. Obviously, Tony's Pier had to be totally reconstructed. Other homes underwent significant home issues. And, we have climate concerns. We also have resiliency concerns and flooding concerns right now. And when we talk about that, we're going to go through, even though obviously we couldn't, everybody couldn't go to the meeting because it was during the day. That's when you can get a lot of these agencies. We did get a few people from the different City Island groups. Luisa Benedetto, who's on our board, attended. Emily Vasquez, who's on the call right now, she's from Senator Biaggi's office, she attended. Matt Cruz from Community 10 was present, as was Raquel Baez, who's the chair or the co-chair of their Municipal Services Committee. And then there were representatives from the City Island Oyster Project and the Hutchinson River Restoration Project. So we had a good collection of people. And even though everybody couldn't be there, the fortunate thing now is that because of technology, I can actually go through the actual itinerary with you of all the places we went to. And what we did is, rather than just hope we could take them these places and then describe to them how bad some of the flooding actually is, we did one step better. And we actually brought photos, and I want to thank Beverly and Kim and other people who submitted their photos, because we were able to show at every stop of the trail how bad flooding here gets. So I have my computer open. I'm going to switch screens right now, so hang tight. Okay.
Can't hear you, John.
I'm sorry about that. Can everyone see and hear me now? And hear me on multiple facets here. Okay, so I want to go through everything with everybody. So I'm going to, hold on a second here. We are going to share our screen. Hold on a second here. Okay. Oh, that's not it. Hold on. Okay. Okay. Hold on one second. I am getting it here. Okay. Thank you, everybody. So this is again this is the itinerary for our flooding meeting, as we discussed last time. Hold on one second here, because I'm hearing myself in the background. Okay, so as discussed, we met at Clipper Coffee, and then we went down, obviously, to Ambrosini Field, and Beverly was able to provide us with some real fantastic photos. I'm just going to show them. Let me know if you all see them. Everybody sees Beverly. You can see the photo. Okay, so this is how bad Ambrosini Field gets at different points in time, and we want to, obviously have this addressed. There are issues within the park that we are now working to address with the mayor's office. And again, this was with the Parks Department. This was with Department of Environmental Conservation. This was with the Department of Transportation. And this was with the Mayor's Office of Climate, which, obviously we have a new person there. And we also had our people for the Sea Grant New York submissions that we give. We have people there now, who are documenting these things at all as well, and they're putting it on a website for us. So this was Ambrosini Field. Obviously, we all see how flooded that gets. And then we got to the corner of Tier and William Street. I believe this was submitted by Barbara Delenzik. Let me pull it up here. Oh no, that's actually, hold on one second. That's this is, I believe this one is the tier that Ms. Delenzik submitted. So I want to make sure we get it correct here. Yep. So as you see here, this is after a regular rainfall. There's significant flooding. This is on Tier Street on Williams. So this is on the Crab Shanty side, just so everybody's familiar with that. And that's how it looks most of the time. And then obviously after that, we went to Tier, and this is actually where David Diaz, who's on our board, he lives here. And this is how bad it can look over there as well. And as a result of that, we brought that by them. They did advise us on this particular one that there is a capital project in the works for fiscal year 2023, which means it's a year off. So we are engaged now with DEP and with DOT and with parks, because we want to make sure that catch basins for this particular location are included in that overall project. So that was helpful. So there looks like there might be some light at the end of the tunnel on this one. We then walked over to Ditmar Street and City Island Avenue. This is the Moontide location, as we often talk about. So as everyone knows, every time there's a moontide, this thing goes very high. And, this was really where both Sea Grant New York and the mayor's office, the climate folks, had a real good crosstalk and back and forth that I think this is going to be more of a focus for them. It's very expensive. Obviously, I think from the mayor's office perspective, they don't want to see any development because, there's the marshlands over there. They were very concerned about that. They don't want to see any future development on that side. And they're talking about things, whether bioswales or something else that we can put over there to stop something like this from happening in the future going forward. So this was a super big concern for everybody at the meeting. It was discussed. Again, I think these are a starting point, right? We're bringing in all the stakeholders and we're having them actually see some of these problems and walking them from site to site with these photos. So they were on site, they saw these photos, And we actually had photos of this particular location, not even 12 hours from the last high tide. So it was really interesting in a sense. So then we walked over to Cross Street, where I actually got a video today of someone getting their car stuck in a sinkhole there. This is another very, very bad location. This is a very frequent location. Actually, the DEP guy said he was pleased to meet us because so many of us have been calling 311 to try to get this fixed, but this is not in his jurisdiction. And ironically, Bridge Street is going to be undergoing a flooding capital project very soon, but this is not deemed to be included in that project. So bringing out all the players, and it's ironic, and even a few people who are usually quite critical backed me up on this, because the one day we went there, this was the one day, I think, in recorded history of Cross Street and Miniford, this location was not flooded. So it's helpful to have these photos there, because as we all know, this site gets very bad. People who are pushing their children in their carriages are now out into the street because that sidewalk is also terrible. And, it's not just replacing the sidewalk, but the curbs, catch basins, things along that nature. And we're already going to have a sewer reconstruction project that ends on Sutherland. So we need to have a greater discussion, and the community board was there about this, to get this particular site included in an existing a site. And there was a discussion on that, and, we'll see where it takes us to, but it was a very, again, all these things have to start somewhere, and having all the different agencies there is a start to that. We walked to by the Gateway area, which is obviously Bridge Street. This area is actually included in the sewer reconstruction project, so this is going to get better. This is over where near Kerry lives and others. This is just an example. On a common day when it rains, we all know, over by the old Rosenberger's livery, this is what you would see, and it's still bad. It wasn't bad on that particular day, but again, there is light at the end of the tunnel with this one, because this is included in the upcoming sewer reconstruction project. So, we are talking to them, but this site will eventually be dealt with. So I guess that's good for everybody. And then the bane of my existence is Lake Orchard. It's a not natural lake, and during the winter months, it becomes the Bronx's only ice skating rink that's unauthorized for your car. Again, we have a lot of issues in the park, and we're working on setting up the meeting now with DOT and Senator Biaggi and a few other people. But this is kind of like the personification of parks inequity and neglect. This is the largest park in the city of New York, and the fact that this is allowed to continue here, to transpire here on a daily basis. And ironically, on the day we went, we didn't actually walk to this location because we had driven by it, and it wasn't bad because it was the week that Orchard Beach opened. So they cleaned the catch basin for that 1 week probably, or did whatever they needed to do, because they knew all the head honchos would be there. And but it has now reverted back to form. Again, we between David, myself, Beverly, and a few other people, we have over 700 photos of different drainage, flooding events on the island itself. Again, some of these are climate related, some of these are not. This one isn't particularly climate related because it's not coming from the ocean. It's just because of poor drainage and inequities that we need to handle in-house.
It also goes across the bike lane. Just the lake goes across the bike lane as well.
Good to know, and thank you for that, because you're right, that's another bothers a whole nother group of people.
This past week, it was as bad as I've ever seen it. It was just all the way across the bike lane, all the way across all the lanes of traffic. It was
yeah. I'll second that. After the storms of last several days, it was as bad as it's been in ever been. But also, don't assume it's not.
I need to turn beyond lake. You got to help me out with that.
I don't think we should assume it's not 100% impacted, possibly into the climate, because you got the the marsh is right across there from it, the turtle ponds, and you
Yeah.
know, if it rises, it doesn't
Yeah.
have to rise a lot, you know.
That's a good point. Again, I'm not a climate. Again, a lot of stuff we are dealing with climate, and climate change is real. And I know you feel the same way. This one, it's also dealing with irrigation. And, instead of calling it Lake Orchard, we might have to start calling it Orchard Sea. So I'm working on that. But from what I'm hearing, and I was speaking to Community Board 10 today, this is the project that they want to address. Not they, but the mayor's office want to address sooner rather than later. So we're all hearing very encouraging things, and it leaves us to be hopeful. Then we didn't walk there because it was 90-degree heat, but we reviewed Turtle Cove, which is definitely climate related because it's coming right out of the water here. And again, you all live this, but this is what we showed the agencies. I'm giving you the same itinerary and report that we show the agencies. So this is what we deal with on a regular rainy day. So, I have worse photos of this, but I'm going to show it one more time. This is what we're dealing with. And obviously there needs to be some level of irrigation there and planning, whether that's berming or something, because when it's high tide, all the raining, when it's the high tide and the rain seem to coincide a great deal. That's what the Sea Grant New York person observed. And if it's high tide, we know that Ditmars is at risk, and we know this area particularly is at risk. So these are things we're watching or Moontide rather, we're watching very, very closely with them and their climate modelists and specialists. And we will share that on their website on our social media page. Again, a lot of their work takes place in Jamaica Bay, but we've submitted so many documents, so much evidence, so many pinpoints going on. They've actually have a whole section of their website just dedicated to City Island now. So keep the photos, keep it coming, keep calling 311 on these particular problems because it is getting documented. And I do think that's helping to make the difference. And then finally, and this isn't related to flooding as much as everything else, but we are starting, and I know this has been a cause for David Diaz, who's here as well, who's on our board, the park wire, the wires within the park. This is not safe. And this is why we kind of need to take our utility lines and we need to put them underground, because this was not some major storm that occurred. This is like a windy Tuesday. And we frequently are getting these concerns on a more I don't want to say frequently, but a more realistic basis. And it's a real problem. And it's something we need to address. We need to start addressing now. So we reviewed these on the tour. This was not as much a city. The city needs to mandate that all these power lines eventually goes underground. That's an expensive proposition, but there is legislation to start studying that we need to consider. And the Con Edison and I know some people on the call know this, because of the public discourse that's going on right now about public utilities, Con Edison's realizing they need to keep their customers happier. And I feel this is a project that there may be some level of wiggle room on with them, but this is unacceptable. And we have been in touch because we were able to identify with the city workers whose utility wires these are, because Verizon has utility wires, Altice has utility wires, and Con Edison has utility wires. So we reach out to all of them when we see these things and we let them make the determination. But as of last week, and I'm not trying to shame them on this call, but Altice was revealed to be the weakest link, figuratively and literally here, and they are going to have to fix their wires. So that's kind of where we are right now. They were going to go out and they were going to do it. And, again, this tour occurred on May 27th. So we're only really 2 weeks out, but I know everybody who attended felt really hopeful with all the actors there that we could really start to move these things forward. And, again, everybody was in the room, and this has caught the attention for the mayor's Bronx liaison to show up and have, the senator's office there and a few other people there. This is on a lot of people's radar. So I'm hopeful that we're going to start seeing these things be tangibly addressed in the upcoming sewer reconstruction projects, both the Bridge Street one and the one they're planning for Tier Street. So it's going to be a lot of working with the community board and a lot of making sure these things are included, as well as working with the climate office to make sure that in Ditmars and particularly by Turtle Cove, where we're actually dealing literally with sea level rise, that there's berming, that there's bioswales, that there's some sort of maybe natural barrier. Members of the Oyster Project were there. They were, of course, and I give them credit, they were touting the Oyster Project, and that may be in the end something that this meeting as the catalyst for them getting some additional funding. So all in all, I think it was a good meeting, and I want to thank everybody for attending. And just give me a second, I'm going to switch back to my non-computer now. Okay, can everybody hear me now? Okay, it was easier to transition back this time than the original time. Okay, so that was the meeting. Does anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns from the virtual tour, I'll call it, on our Zoom here tonight? Is there anything in the chat related to this? Hold on.
Was there any talk of
Lake-
the flooding causing issues with mosquitoes? Because every
Yes,
time I
that
see
came
one
up.
of those, I just like have nightmares about mosquitoes. And I'm wondering if anything can be done to the puddles to make them less desirable to mosquitoes.
Totally. That's why they spray. I agree with you. That's not an acceptable long-term solution there. We've got to continue to bring that up every time there's a West Nile alert, because you're right. Standing water is literally right outside one of the biggest attractions in the borough. And 10464 is the area, as we all know, because we live here, that's frequently sprayed. So you put these two things together, and it's really deeply concerning that this is allowed to transpire here. As I'm going to get everything together for the Rodman's Neck presentation, but before I do that, Beverly, could you just give everybody, because I know we've been joined by a few people now, can you give everybody a brief update on what happened at the craft fair real quickly? And then Kim,
Sure.
would you speak about the petition for a minute? Thank you, guys.
Sure. So we were excited to participate in the City Island Craft Fair for the first time. We had folks tabling from 11 to 3 on Saturday and 11 to 1 on Sunday. We were sharing information about the petition that Kim's going to talk about, also about our walking group, and had a lot of great enthusiasm. A lot of young people came by. We sort of shared some of the topics that we work on, had a lot of enthusiasm about our work on climate change and many other issues. So a good time was had by all, and we definitely generated some enthusiasm for City Island Rising.
Cool. We did have a ferry petition that if you walked by, you might have seen. As a group, we've discussed the ferry a lot, and we have a lot of interest in getting a City Island ferry stop. I know this is kind of controversial in some circles, but City Island Rising Board has discussed this and has kind of come to the conclusion that really the best solution for our community to help with some of our transportation issues would be to have a ferry coming to the island. So we did have our petition at the tabling, and Beverly said that we got 45 signatures. Is that correct, Beverly? So very good. And I was just like very heartened to see the enthusiasm that people had for this issue, because we weren't really sure exactly how people would respond to it, and everybody was super positive. I think that it's just kind of a very logical thing that we would have a ferry to our little island community. So our plan now is to put together a new ferry petition on change.org. So we'll be distributing the link to that. There was a previous ferry petition that related to the greater area. It was not as specifically designating City Island as a stop destination. So we're revising that. We'll reach out to the people that had signed that original petition to see if they're interested in signing this new petition. But just to give you kind of a summary of what our case will be in the petition. There's a lot of reasons that a ferry would be great. Laura and I did a lot of research on the ferry and has even convinced me of other reasons that I want it. I want it for selfish reasons. I want to go places. And I think that people on City Island can relate to that. But there's other reasons that it would be beneficial. And one is that it can bring people to us. And not just to us to see us as individuals, but to see our community and diversify how people get to our community. So right now, everybody's getting here one way, and anybody who knows that way knows that it gets very crowded. It makes it a little bit of a situation where we get stuck on the island because we can't leave because of all the traffic. So diversifying how people can get to City Island will make it so people have a different way to get here. Another thing that will be beneficial if we have a ferry is that we have empty storefronts, because our businesses are so challenged by serving such a small community. They just can't always survive. But if we can bring in more people without overwhelming our roads, then this would allow different types of businesses to form. And that helps us because we get to have more businesses around us, which is great. And it also helps those businesses and hopefully would clear away some of these empty storefronts that none of us like to see. I think that's one thing that all City Islanders agree with. We do not like empty storefronts. We want to see businesses in them that we can visit and use. But it's not always possible for our little community to be enough to keep these businesses going. So we need other people to fill those businesses up and give them money so that they can survive for the long term. So those are just a couple of the reasons that we're going to be putting into our explanation that will go with our change.org petition. If anybody has any thoughts on this, of ideas of why you want a ferry, please send them. If you have ideas about why you don't want a ferry or why you think the ferry might be a challenge, send those too, because we want to come up with solutions for that rather than kind of coming at it from oh, this is a problem, so let's not do it. Let's be proactive about how we can make it work, because no matter whether you think a ferry is a good idea or not, I think that everybody can agree that there are some advantages to having a ferry, and maybe there are ways to combat the possible challenges, and I think there are. So that was my spiel. Is John ready?
That was no, I was listening intently. I thought that was a very good presentation. The people don't know, but Kim was only asked to give this presentation about an hour ago. So the fact that she not only did it, but did it that well, thank you. You're gonna have to do more now.
I was more just rambling on about how much I want a ferry. I'm very passionate about this issue, so it's easy for me to just go on and on.
No, you were great. And just to echo, I guess, to lend my voice to this, is that, City Island, I think now has reached a place where we kind of need an all of the above transportation plan. We need a 24/7 bus. We're working on that. We have the MTA's commitment. We've got to follow through and pester them. And everyone knows I'm very good at pestering people. We need the ferry. We need to make sure that people who want to take the bike have a protected bike lane on the bridge. This is one of the things they're going to come up in the other meeting. We need to make sure the roads within Pelham Bay Park are safe. and for cars, we need to make sure that, things are fair for them as well. And that the roads, we're getting emails from people who live on the island who are saying, I have an old car and this, coming kind of coming around the Rodman's Neck traffic circle is doing a number on everybody's got to pivot off the major roadway to avoid, the road, the lack of road that is there. So,
John, I have a question about that, just because you mentioned the potholes and everything.
Yeah.
Is there, I feel like that's kind of using the ongoing construction. I've lived on the island for about 8 years now, I think. And I think I moved here at the exact wrong moment, because it was about like the second that the bridge construction was starting. So the bridge, I've only lived on City Island when there was construction here. So lucky me. But I was curious, is there any sort of plan that is the next phase of the construction that says kind of like, we're trying to get through this construction and then we'll repave everything? Or is that not even really on their radar?
So as of right now, there are no plans to resurface the roadways within Pelham Bay Park. And that is why we're doing kind of this meeting is again, the DOT meeting is to really, with transportation alternatives, with the senator, with DOT, is to really kind of move that issue forward as well. Because you're right. I mean, I don't, and I've lived on the island a little bit longer, but like, I don't remember a time when I was driving on City Island where that bump, like the bumpy road there was not horrible ever. So, and I've been driving now, much to the chagrin of some of my family members, for 20 years. So it's bad. John, I saw your hand is up. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something on the ferries that I put in the chat that I think included in the ferry plan, I think is originally New Rochelle and Hunts Point, but that could also be an impact to reduce traffic, especially if it was available on weekends and evening weekends. And reduce drunk driving too, I'm sure. So just my thought for something that, should be put in the petition.
Totally right.
Facilitate access to the island, reduce traffic,
and people
building more parking lots.
Well, people are concerned with parking, which, look, it's a valid concern. It's not a reason to put the brakes on everything. And that's, no pun intended with all that transportation talk here. There are ways around that, and we can deal with them together. Right. And
I think I mentioned to you, John, once with reference to buses, especially if we're going to go 24/7. On weekends, let's say summer weekends, extend the bus to an Orchard Beach stop and allow parking at Orchard Beach. Yeah. And a round trip included on your Easy Pass from Orchard Beach parking to City Island.
That's a good point. Clementina, did you want to add to this? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Is there anything we can do about the bike lanes? I know you mentioned the bike lane. There is, the trail has like a bike lane and a walking lane. It's pretty obvious. It's painted on the floor. I was in a little snafu in October with I got in a bike accident with pedestrians that I was riding toward, simply because I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that they would not move when they saw me going at the speed I was going at them. But so since then, I've recently, got back on my bike and I've been getting out there every morning, and even early, like I come home from the gym and I get on my bike. So it's really early, and people are completely oblivious to, walking people are just completely oblivious to the fact that there's a bike lane. And I don't know if there's anything we can do about it, but obviously either they're not seeing the things on the road. It's just as if they don't really understand that they need to be sharing the road. Like, can we, I've had, I don't know, like I would say 4 days in the last 2 weeks, I've literally had to stop and be like, trying to educate people.
Well, I think
while I'm out riding.
Right.
Yeah.
Clementina,
I'm sorry. I'm suddenly writing.
No. I interrupted you. I apologize. You are 100% right. It's education in mass. So I hate to say this out loud, but the person that you drove into on the bike lane, you were right to drive into them, because long term, the only way for people to respect bike riders is to take up physical space. And I think that collectively, if the bike riders on the island are more assertive, people are going to learn to respect bike riders.
Yeah,
It's
except
not-
like I
it's
ended
not
up
your-
in the hospital. I had a concussion.
It's not
Cost
your
me
job.
$400 to fix my
Um,
bike.
No,
like-
no, fair enough. But I've been considerably more assertive since I've been riding, because City Island as a whole is not as respectful to bike riders as they should be. And I think the more of us that do it, basically we should get together as a bike riders union and say, hey, listen, these are bike lanes. This is designed for a bike lane. You have the right to walk in the bike lane, but you have to get out of the way of somebody moving quicker, just like you drive in the right lane slower than you drive in the left lane. You know what I mean?
Well, and
I think that,
And Dan, I
Go
don't
ahead.
think that necessarily needs to be a bike riders only thing. I think maybe that's about people who use the trail and educating about there's courteous ways to use the trail, like walking
Right.
4 abreast is never okay, nor would riding 3 abreast or
Right.
2
Right.
abreast be okay, right? And so you know, I've seen in other places signs that are sort of placed along trails like this, reminding people to share the space, to share the path, giving more guidance about, you know, if you're slower, go to the right hand side. And you know, Kim has made the point, and actually Kim,
Yeah,
on-
this very much goes along with my general just thinking that the whole park needs better safety signage and just usage signage.
the crosswalk that goes across before you get to Orchard Beach is non-existent, and you know, I get hit every time I try, you know, not I don't get hit, I almost get hit every time I go across there. I know that I'm taking things into my own hands, because there's no signage at all for the cars that's a path for walkers and runners and bikers. And so I agree with you, Dan, and I think it can be a union of everybody that's using the trail respectfully and sharing it.
I mean, and we
Yeah,
can,
I was thinking like happy little signage, like brightly
Mhm.
colored. Like I don't know
Yeah.
anything about this, so like maybe it's
Yeah,
I
like
feel like if
pictures
there were
of
happy
cute
little signage.
bicycles,
What?
cute bicycles and people, like a sign that
Right.
shows them like a person going this way and a person going this way and a bicycle or something, and
that's-
like how they fit in the lanes. Because the lanes, I mean, I don't think they're very well marked. I wouldn't, if somebody's coming and using these bike trails and walking trails, I mean, many of them are using them for the first time and
That's
maybe
fair.
not
Exactly,
really
and
know.
they
It's
just
not like
seem-
they're just all regular users. There are people coming to the area and like, oh, I want to go on a bike ride, and then people walking. So it's a mix of people. So we need to make it so it's crystal clear
can-
to everyone, regardless
reach-
of their prior knowledge about bike trails and this bike trail.
we should reach out to
Yeah.
transportation
Just-
alternatives, because they're pretty good about the
Well, they're
signage and
coming on
stuff
the
like that.
tour.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
And
they're
that's
coming
kind of where
on the tour.
critical.
So they're going to be, no, that you, everything you said is correct. And that's why we kind of did this with them, because they have a lot of clout, particularly in the city and with DOT. And I will tell you that when we sent the letter on the joint letterhead, within an hour, DOT had acknowledged it, because they don't play around with transportation alternatives. The
Right,
bikers
they're
are very,
solid, and they teach people,
active.
and they're really helpful.
Yeah. And you know, we
Um,
worked with them, and people remember this when we had our big cleanup day. James Moen and a few others actually removed that bush that was like protruding into the bike lane and everything. And like all the bikers like stopped and were super appreciative. And like we're really doing good stuff with them. And a lot of this tour stuff came out of a site visit with them. So Clementina, I'm actually, you know, when we have this meeting, would you like to come?
Sure. Let me know when it
Okay.
is. And you know, I mean, just to say this also,
Yeah.
I hoped, you know, last year, you know, when I got involved with the poster project, I mean, I envision, I think City Island is a great place for just more cute signage, generally speaking. Like, I really do think people need, I mean, you know, whatever, I wrote all this in the article, and Barbara Delancik asked me to take it all out. But, you know, I have been, because of a personal experience I had, with a jerk who gave me a piece of garbage, which I took, and it was a psychological test. And he was like, oh, then he was like, oh, I could tell you're a mom, whatever. I won't even get in, but I was so grossed out by this that I am like a crazy person with my kids and garbage. Like,
Yeah.
I never take their garbage. I don't pick up their garbage. Like, you know what I mean? And I use it as a lesson of like, you can never give a woman your garbage, right? Like whatever, what have you. It's like a thing. And my kids still, of course, try to hand me garbage, right? Like after years and years, and I am totally consistent. Like when I tell you I never take their garbage, I never take it. So I know how hard it is to educate people to do something you want them to do, like throw away their garbage. I know how hard I have worked on this with my children, and I know how hard it has been. And so I just feel like, you know, even signs that like happy little signs, positive signs that remind people like the kind of place and culture, but like real ones, you know, at strategic places. And I don't know, we can make signs for so many different things. It could be fun. You know, that just teach people about, and that also create like internal messaging about what city, you know, when you create a company culture or anything like that, like so much of it comes from words, repetitive words, educating masses over time, and signage.
Yeah. No, you're right. And this is why I want you there too, because DOT has some regulations about signage. I know this is being recorded. So, you know, whoever, you know, the people who watch this will know, but it's not going to be like mass broadcasted. The enforcement of said signage, to be honest, isn't exactly super enforced. That's why you always see those things up on the telephone poles about yard sales. There was a particular City Island organization that wanted their sign up on the island, and it did get up there. But I was basically told by a certain government bureaucrat who shall go unnamed that you know, so long as the sign is not offensive and it's for an actual group, if you put it up there, they kind of just leave it alone. So, but let's talk offline, and I'm definitely willing to do that. And I'm really sorry that happened to you on your bike, but I appreciate you being willing to come.
Oh, I mean, yeah, no, I mean,
let's
thank
try to make
God.
everything safer for everyone else, right? Let's take
Yeah,
something
no, it's just
that's
something like I've
honorable.
come to notice there's so many ways that people are just completely oblivious to bicyclists. And Dan, I mean, you're right. I feel like it's gotten worse in the last couple of years.
Yeah, no, it has.
And we
And
should,
go ahead.
Clementine, we should toy with I mean, I've been toying with doing a critical mass once, just out of principle, at a non-crowded time, just to make a point. You know, a little grand, but you know, 50 bicycles going down City Island on a Tuesday afternoon would be
we talked
and
about doing
powerful.
this before COVID. We should definitely do this.
You know, and do it right and not hurt anybody, but to say, hey, this is you know, we now have 40 new bike racks. So clearly people bike to City Island, right? So we should.
Well, they're built for the infrastructure. They want more people to bike, and this is, you build things anticipating the need, you know,
in advance, right? So
as they say, if you build it, they will come. So sometimes that works. Okay, this was a wonderful discussion, and I think if it's okay with all of you, I'm going to ask that everybody on this one, let's even bring this back at the next meeting for like a more fuller discussion on this, because it is super important. And, you know, by this point, we'll kind of have the meeting ready and everything, and I think it'll be very good. It's okay with everybody. I'm gonna go back to the Rodman's Neck part of the discussion, because we had the meeting actually yesterday. So a lot of stuff was going on, but we had the meeting. It was done between the 45th Precinct Council and Community Board 10. It was a Community Board 10 hosted meeting through their municipal services. And this is the first time we had met with them since February of 2020. It was like one of the last public meetings before COVID. So let's start with the good news, and that is that the temporary baffling will be starting. The construction on the temporary baffling, it's not the permanent, but this is to make things a little bit better, is going to be starting this year and should be concluded, according to them, by April of 2022. So help is on the way, and it is on the way soon. The meeting was, we went into some other aspects of it too. As we know, for years, we'd been asking for them to fully enclose the range. They said too expensive. It was going to rise the cost of the range projected 33%. We always felt that was a little bit of hogwash, but they came at that February meeting and said they were going to fully enclose the range, and then COVID hit and no one knew what was going to happen to the budget, so everything kind of got mothballed. Now we're being told that of the 150 shooting points at the range, 130 of them will be indoors. So the overwhelming majority, not everything, but the overwhelming majority, was a change. But they did say that on the range, that the way they were constructing it, and I actually have the audio. I'm going to reach out to Matt Cruz. I'm going to get the video, and maybe I'll put it on our YouTube channel, because we do get a lot of views there on certain topics and points. They did say that they were constructing the range with the anticipation that if there is a way to get more money for the other 20 shooting points, that they could then enclose them as well. So it is being thought about with the potential of doing the overall construction in mind. So I thought that was very good, and what people in City Hall would like to hear. We went over some other things. We had, and the precinct council, which again, in full disclosure, I sit on the precinct council as well. We had written them a letter in last summer, kind of as things got bad, as they have been this summer. And we'd asked for a string of improvements. I know we had went over it in our past meetings here. One thing we're asking for, and we've been pushing them on, is, as many of you know, we were all involved in the effort to get Notify NYC to give us the alerts when they're doing the controlled detonations. And a lot of people, look, nobody likes that they're doing the detonations there, but to be able to prepare for that, prepare maybe your children, your spouse, your ailing relatives, your dogs. I get a lot of people who are happy they're able to prepare their dogs for that. It is helpful to know that when you hear loud, boom, that it is at least that that there was a planned detonation. We have asked now, this was in line after the 2016, people remember there was the Chelsea bombing and a few of the other things that were happening. It was very scary, and they were bringing the bombs here. And what we're asking for is if they can do a Notify NYC to tell us that there's been an accident on the Bruckner, they could do a Notify C to inform City Island residents that a controlled detonation or an emergency detonation is on the way to Rodman's Neck. Because what happens is they cut traffic both ways. So you can't get on, you can't get off. That is an incredible, I remember one of our members told me, I have a kid in UPK over in Pelham Bay. If and this was happening at that point, a little level of frequency, if this is happening, like that affects your child, that affects your life, that affects your schedule, it affects, everything you have going on. So we are asking them, and we did push back on them because they didn't address this in the letter, that we want a Notify NYC when explosives are en route to the destination. We asked them that a heavy shooting schedule, because everyone knows that the worst shooting occurs during the academy classes. So we are asking for them, that's the fire truck behind me, if anyone hears that, the heavy shooting schedule, that they should release that at least to us so we can prepare, and people can kind of, if they're having an outdoor event, be mindful or reschedule that event or just know in advance, because it's not really fair to the people around here. And even though, again, we are getting the temporary baffling, we are getting a lot of it enclosed, at least temporarily, we should know if it's going to be heavily scheduled. We did ask them to redefine the shooting schedule to go from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. There's a 9 p.m. cutoff every day, just so everybody knows that. It's supposed to be done by 9 p.m. So if you're hearing shooting past 9 p.m., again, we all own these now. You can turn them on, you can video, you can record, you can email us. This is very helpful to be able to determine things. This is your evidence collector. This is how we're going to move forward here. But it's supposed to be 9 p.m. and then they practice on one Saturday a month. What we asked them to consider doing was, rather than 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., to flip that and do 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. So rather than do 13 hours, they would do 11. Obviously, they are pushing back on that, but we're going to continue on this because, again, we've all been more than patient. Now it's about being good neighbors, and to restrict the schedule, I think will make a lot of sense.
John, one question
yes.
on that. I know a couple of years ago, the High Holy Days celebrations at the synagogue were quite disrupted by gunfire and explosions at the range. which seemed exceptionally
Inconsiderate.
tone deaf, inconsiderate. And I'm gathering by the fact that they have one Saturday per month that means that they don't shoot on Sundays. I'm wondering if there's any way to make a request that that when services for any religion, particularly of the significance of the High Holy Days, that that they maybe take a break and ease off a bit, because I heard that had happened, and I was just heartsick about it.
Wholly 100% agree with you, and I did not mean to make that pun. You're 100% right. And what they've been trying to do now is, and I think they should do this automatically, but I don't work for the range. I'm a neighbor here with all of you, is when we tell them it's the High Holy Days or an important Jewish holiday, we have noticed they do restrict doing that, but it shouldn't take us telling them that. So what I'm going to do is in the next, in the next meeting to bring that up again. Lately, that was the big problem. I think it was 2016, if I remember correctly. And it caused such a, the Jewish community on the island felt rightfully, I think, disrespected, and everyone felt disrespected for them. And that, as far as I'm aware, and we can check with Paul Klein or some of the people in the temple, my understanding is it hasn't been a problem since then. Again, I agree with that. It was incredibly offensive, and I'm sorry, but my understanding is it hasn't been a problem since that point in time, because they have since taken measures, and we can continue, when we notice it's High Holy Days to, or any other holiday of significance to any religion, because we want to be respectful of everybody, to make sure that, we can notify the NYPD range.
Thanks.
Yep, absolutely. The other thing that, again, the environmental concerns are an incredible concern, not only for this group, but for all the environmental groups, whether they're the Hutchinson River Restoration Project, whether the Oyster Project. And we had actually asked them about, kind of who is the jurisdiction over these things. And basically what they got back to us with is they basically told us, there were 34 soil samples and then 28 groundwater monitoring wells, and then 3 air monitoring stations, but they didn't give us any of the readings thereof. So we're really pushing on them on that one, because if you're going to tell us all your machinery there, but then not tell us what your findings are, this just makes everybody very suspicious. And, we are trying on this to push them in the right direction. We also asked them, and they didn't give us a response on this, and I think I know why, but what non-NYPD agencies utilize the range. As many people know, we've seen like bomb trucks from Connecticut Police Department sometimes going through Rodman's Neck, because the idea that our precinct council president, Bob Beater, believes is that if a lot of agencies are contributing to this, whether it be the state troopers, Department of Corrections, whatever, they, or particularly governments outside the city of New York, they should be contributing to the solution to make this livable for everyone. But we have been not getting great responses on that as well. I think there's going to be some pushback in the media. There was a reporter there from the Bronx Times, and he was interested in this. So we'll see what happens there. And again, we are following up on them.
Can I just add one thing, John, on that?
Yeah.
It should be no secret that some New York State police barracks, assorted Westchester County police departments, have used Rodman's Neck for some of their qualifications or training. I mean, it's been going on for years. They shouldn't, they shouldn't try to hide that, because it's basically well known. Okay.
Yeah, and they acknowledge it. They just, again, a lot of this stuff is things that get measured or things that get acted upon or things that get done. And that's kind of where we're kind of having some problems here, is that we can't get accurate measurements from them to see what other governments are using this range. Because if they're using the range, clearly there's probably some sort of an agreement with the city for this. And it would be helpful to know that. So if anyone has ideas on that, feel free to email me or email the group, because all the emails, we share them. It's cityislandrising@gmail.com.
The only thing that I could add on that is yeah, they absolutely pay for it.
Yeah.
I know Westchester County police chiefs, and
Yeah.
they do pay for it. How much, I don't know. What percent of revenue, I don't know, but yeah, they do.
All right, why don't you and I have it offline, because you know Westchester government very well through your career, and obviously if we can kind of put your expertise to good use for the community, that's always something I'm interested in doing, and using your knowledge to maybe you can help us find out some of these answers. So you and I, let's connect offline, and I would actually love to work with you on that. Thank you, John. Okay, so after that, yeah, I mean, the wells are really the only thing I want an answer on. I have spoken to a few of the City Island's environmental activists. As people may know, back in the 90s, one of the lead groups that sued the city of New York over this was the Fishermen's Union, because they wanted to fish still at that point in Eastchester Bay. Obviously, that doesn't happen now, which is another issue we're dealing with. But environmental concerns are very important. And again, I'm not an environmental science PhD or specialist, but based on the ones that I speak to who know this stuff very well, they're not. They believe that it's probable that it may be it may actually be okay, but trust but verify. We're going to get the information, and we'll come back on that one. So that concludes the Rodman's Neck report. I'm going to put it together as more of a PowerPoint slide bulletin slide, so it's easier for people to digest, and I'm going to put it on our social media. Does anyone have any question that I didn't cover that you guys, oh, and then the other thing was, now because of the COVID delay, the real construction will start in 2023 and is projected to end in 2026. This is the city. There are cost overruns. I would assume that 2026 is, it's going to take a year or two thereafter. But that is where we are right now. 2023 starts the real construction. In 2022, in April, we will have temporary baffling. Oh, and then somebody brought up in the meeting that that there were some unidentified flying objects that were flying near Rodman's Neck, and that led to a humorous outburst that someone was saying in the community board group chat that we are not alone. So take that for what you will. But that's where we concluded that meeting. Does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns with respect to the range? Okay, thank you very much, guys. Moving on with our agenda. We have some upcoming events that are super important. Beverly, would you mind giving a pitch to the walking group?
Sure. So we have our monthly walking group coming up on Saturday afternoon at 2. We take off from Hawkins Park, and the route is determined by the folks in the group. It's easy, non-competitive, just an opportunity to socialize a little, get a little fresh air. The weather looks like it's going to be beautiful Saturday afternoon, so please come out and join us.
Thank you, Beverly. And it is fun. And we've actually got a few RSVPs because Beverly was doing such a good job tabling this weekend. So I emailed them over to you.
I wouldn't have done such a good job if Kim hadn't made flyers. So
thank you, Kim. Good job, team. Next event we have coming up, and it's been shared on our social media. We're doing an e-cycling event where you can bring your electronic goods. You can bring them to 239 Play. We're going to be outside with a truck and a pallet. We're going to be packing these things. Thank you again to Dan Triber and Rana Bro for allowing us to be outside there to do this, and 239 Play for being so accommodating. It's going to be a nice event to improve our environment. And, again, we're getting a lot of interest in that event from even areas outside of City Island. And we timed it for 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So we're not contributing to weekend traffic on the island. So, we do listen to when people make concerns, and we do try to build around it. So yeah, again, that's June 19th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at 239 City Island Avenue, corner of Schofield Street. Next event, because I don't think I see, and I'm sure she also has a lot going on. Joanne Valletta helped arrange our Bronx Bound Books event. This is Bronx Bound Books is a company. They do a lot with recycling books. They also do a lot with it's like a whole big van that's decked out for the kids with little things inside, and it's just really kind of building in the joys of reading in a younger population. And we had this in the City Island Current, and it's good. The event's going to take place outside of Clipper Coffee. We have the permit. The parking outside is going to be cleared. And Peter tells me that people are already starting to drop off books. So thank you all. That's really, really good. And we're probably going to be outside, I think, me and other members of the board with some coffee and things like that, just engaging in conversation. And again, if you have, we put it on our social media, but there are different types of, they don't want like encyclopedias or religious texts, but, regular books that are new or very, very gently used can be recycled and, made into different things and different books for the next generation. So please consider coming. Again, that's June 26th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's a little bit longer than the other event at Clipper Coffee, which is 274 City Island Avenue. Following event is we're doing a virtual Narcan training. This is actually the precinct council doing it with a Throg's Neck group. As people have heard, opioid overdoses are starting to rise up a little bit. And, just to be on the safe side with that, particularly in our precinct where opiates have kind of ravaged, and particularly in this community, we're going to be doing another Narcan training event with our friends over at the Bronx Community Health Network. They've been great partners. It's all free of charge. We even dropped the Narcan kit off to you in advance. All we ask, and there's going to be a registration form that will go out online. And it's just very important that we get that done, and that we, again, it's very important. It takes 30 minutes. You get the Narcan and you could save a life. So please, be a part of that. Finally, after that, we have City of Water Day. David, do you want to give an update on City of Water Day? I know we still have a lot we've got to kind of put together there.
You may want to handle that right now. I'm sorry.
I know I'm putting you on the spot. I'm sorry about that. It's not my intention, but okay. City of Water Day is going to be July 10th. We are still working it out. We had a great time last time. We had a great time last time, and we did one way. We a bunch of us, we all kayaked, and then we came back. This year we're trying to get Captain work. Well, we know we are. We're going to work with Captain Mike, and we're going to have rentals on site. Again, we're trying to keep this event kind of City Island immediate area, but we want everybody to kind of come out together. It's going to be a nice, partnership activity, and it'll be really great. So that is again going to be July 11th. So that's the first of our July events. On July 13th, as we talked about in our last two meetings, we had Orlando Torres come from the city's Commission on Human Rights. We are going to have an upstander training, which will teach you how to deal with kind of, escalating situations in a way. There's unfortunately a lot of hate in the world, and a lot of people who are not getting the help they need. And we're going to train everybody on how to de-escalate things or to extricate yourself from those situations with the help of the Human Rights Commission. And that's very important. And then finally, actually second to final, because Beverly's going to jump in again on this. Second to final, we are planning a cleanup day actually with Senator Biagi's office like we did last summer. We're going to do it again this summer. So we will keep you posted on that. Beverly, go ahead.
Sure. So this is not a City Island Rising event, but is a very cool thing happening on our island. There's going to be a Pride celebration this weekend on Sunday, June 13th at Amberzini Field. It sounds like there may be a kickball game. The events are going on from noon to 4, and then there's going to be a film screening at 278 City Island Avenue at 9 o'clock. So all are welcome. Come out and wear your rainbow swag and show your pride.
Yes, and thank you to I think it was Tiger and Kai Hall who have kind of put this together. I just want to thank them because it sounds like a wonderful event that hopefully will be an annual event, because we do have a lot of LGBTQIA plus people on the island. On the good news front, good news in terms of showing the generosity of our community. Obviously, we're still raising money for the Elizabeth Mass Memorial. We have cleared our more than halfway donation. We've raised more than $1,300. So we're in the process now of getting the bench donated. And now we're raising money for the tree donation and for an event. Thank you, Beverly. Beverly just put the link in the chat. I appreciate that. We are raising the money that's going to go towards the event, and then any extra funds, as it's stipulated there, will be going to her immediate family for any costs they've had towards this, and that's important. And then we have actually a fun thing to announce. I'll let Beverly do that.
Sure. So an important thing that's coming up in the arena of civic engagement is that on June 22nd is primary day here in New York. So that's going to be the offices of mayor, public advocate, comptroller, borough president, and city council. A very fun and interesting thing that's happening this year for the first time ever in New York City is ranked choice voting. So ranked choice voting allows you to rank up to 5 candidates in order of your preference instead of just choosing one candidate. And so that gives you more say in who's elected, right? If you're like, well, I really like this person, but if they're not going to win, then I'd rather my vote go for person B. You don't have to say, I'm just going to put person B because that's the person most likely to win and I don't want to throw away my vote, right? So it's going to be a little unusual. Your ballot's not going to look the way that it usually does. And so John and I have a fun exercise to sort of show you what this is going to look like, so you can practice a little before you're sitting there in the voting booth. And it's the high stakes of choosing the mayor, which is a little fun and interesting this year, or choosing the primary candidates for mayor. So John, how do you want to do this?
We can just share the link. So our board decided we needed a fun ranked choice activity that was very offered multiple, a lot of choices, more than obviously 5 because you've got to rank everything. So we decided a comparable thing to the field for mayor would be all the restaurants on City Island. So we went through the Chamber of Commerce's website, and anything that the chamber classified as a restaurant is now on this list. This is not meant to be competitive. It's just meant to teach people to use ranked choice voting. So the link is in there, and the polls will close on this on June 21st, which is the day before primary day.
Yeah. So you can hop in there. What you can't do is rank everybody to be number 1. There needs to be one per square. You can't have any ties. So choose a first choice, a second choice, a third choice, a fourth choice, a fifth choice, if you have that many choices. And the same way as when you go in there to decide who you're voting for mayor, if you really like one candidate and just want to vote for them, you only have to fill in one bubble. There's no requirement that you fill in all 5 bubbles of your 5 top choices. I know for me, looking at this long slate of candidates, it's really hard for me to figure out who my top 5 are. I think it's changed about 7 times today. So, same thing with our restaurants, right? If you just want to put your 1 vote in for your favorite restaurant, and that's your story and you're sticking to it, that's great. But if you want to rank 5, go ahead and do that. And we'll announce the winners on our Facebook page, John.
Yep, we'll do it on all our socials. And again, this is not meant to be competitive. This is just meant to be fun and a way to be instructive to people. We're not trying to pit the restaurants against each other or cause all out warfare on City Island. It's just to be a fun way to teach City Islanders how to use this new style of voting. In a nonpartisan way.
Yeah, if you have any questions about ranked choice voting, I used to work for an organization that was called the Center for Voting and Democracy at the time, and it's now I think called Fair Vote. If you have any questions or concerns, or just want somebody to kind of help walk through what this is going to look like, I'm happy to be a resource to anybody that wants more information.
Thank you, Beverly. And that's very important. And Beverly was actually on very informative on our, we did a informational event on ranked choice voting that she and Louisa Benedetto put together. And it's on our YouTube channel. If you want, you can go over there and we'll repost it a few times beforehand. So if people need to understand how to use ranked choice, they can hear it from actual City Islanders with the Campaign Finance Board, which taught everybody how to use that. So thank you very much. And then what else do we have here? We did the petition. Thank you, Kim. We have some community issues that are still pending. UPK, we're waiting on a response from the Department of Education, but we're still working on that. And the community garden, we're waiting on a response from our insurance company. I hope to have more things, but I think we've went on a we've been very extensive in our updates today on community related issues. Is Erica on the line? I know she wanted to run something by the group. I don't see her. She had seen something. Again, we're trying to do new things like the Teacher Appreciation Day, like City of Water Day, which now will be our second annual, like the Bronx Bound Books or the e-cycling events. We're trying to do new things to kind of add to the fabric of City Island. She had seen this very nice event that's taking place in the town of Pelham called Pelham Together. They're doing a summer fest. It's got different events for young adults, adolescents. If people want to check it out, I'm going to reach back out to her, but I think she would like to get something like this started on City Island. So if you're super interested in this and doing this type of event, again, it would require raising a budget and do all these different things, but it could be very nice for City Island. Just email us at cityislandrising@gmail.com and we'll connect you guys, because I do think, for people who are looking for a new project to improve the community and have the bandwidth to take this on right now, I think it would be an awesome event. And then secondly, when we send out the email for our meetings, we always ask for you guys to email us back questions, comments, concerns. Obviously, and I see the person on here right now, we got something back on the roadways and the potholes and things like that, and we're still working on those. Another thing we got back was somebody was asking what was going on with North Miniford Marina. Obviously we all remember last year there were some issues there. They addressed their concerns. I guess there's loud music in the middle of the week at 4:30 a.m. I'm really sorry to hear that. If people have concerns about the marina, please file the prerequisite complaints on 311. 311 is the way you file for a noise complaint. And then you can always send us those 311 numbers. We did let the precinct know about this concern. And I think if we generate a few more complaints, that would they would then reach out to management. I'm going to shoot the manager just some information as well, just so everybody's on the same page. But that was the only other thing besides it was the event that Pelham's doing, as well as the North Miniford Marina and the condition of the roadways in Pelham Bay Park were the three things that came in through the inbox. So again, going to do a double plug here. If you have community related issues, email us cityislandrising, all one word, @gmail.com. We do go through that email box as a board. We do divvy up the work and we do bring everything back into this meeting so you guys all know what's going on. It's not the province of one person. Beyond that, I see Emily Vasquez is still here from Senator Biaggi's office and has been incredibly patient with us. So Emily, do you want to give us an update from the senator?
Hi, everyone. Good evening. It's great to be here. Today is the last day of session, hopefully, if it doesn't get extended. And so we will be having a legislative wrap-up town hall on Tuesday at 11 a.m., I believe it is. Let me check the calendar real quick. I'm sorry. Yes, at 11:30 a.m. Via Facebook. So if any of you have any specific questions you might come up with regarding the legislative season and what happened this time around, please feel free to send it to me. I'm going to put my contact information in the chat if all of you don't have it. Our office is still helping folks apply for the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. So if anyone needs help filing that, you can reach our office. And lastly, I hope you all have a great summer. I'm looking forward to working with all of you for the summer for some possible summer events with our office.
Thank you, Emily, and thanks the senator for all the work she's doing
Hey,
for
can
us.
I give a big shout out? Because I do want to acknowledge Emily, because she is incredible. And she is such a great part of Senator Biagi's office. She's helped me so much in a lot of the things that I've done in the neighborhood, and she is completely always available, and she's amazing. So I just want to say thank you, Emily.
There we go. Emily, thank you. And thank you for being, Emily was there in real life on the climate tour. So I appreciate you being there for that as well. Does anyone else have anything that they want to bring up that we didn't cover on the agenda? Again, please try to email these things in advance, but now is the time. The floor is open. Old business, new business, whatever. Oh, Leslie, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm sorry I didn't email. I should have. It completely slipped my mind. So long story short, most recently in the last 2 weeks, there seems to be a homeless man who is pitching a tent in front of the Harlem Yacht Club. And I'm not sure what I should do to assist. I did call 311. I know I'm a social worker, so I know that they have like the homeless outreach team that comes out and meets people to see if they could be of any help. But I have also seen other things. So anyway, I'm not going to take the time of the committee. My main I can email for more detail. But is there anything that City Island has going on that could maybe assist him? So I just put it out there because it's quite concerning. It's a dark corner for his safety and other people's safety. I think, if we can help him get off the street.
Sure.
Leslie, in the past,
Yeah,
I've called Common Ground.
Okay.
And they're a great organization that helps provide support to people to move them out of homelessness. And I don't know honestly if they are active on City Island, but I have called them when I've lived in other places in the past, and they've been at least able to give me advice and connect me to either their own outreach coordinators or somebody else that can help. I'll try and find their information and put it in the chat.
Okay. Any information, because
Yes.
I just worry about him. I really think that he's at risk, especially on the weekends with the, there's just an influx of people in the community. It's very risky for him.
I have a question.
Totally.
When you filed the complaint with 311, did they send someone out there?
They said that they should have come within 2 hours. I did not see them come out to see him. I have the number. I have the number of the
Your ticket number?
Okay, I'll do that. No problem. Thank you, Emily.
Yeah, no, that would be great if Emily, if anything you could do with that. And and also Bronx Works is our local vendor. So I know Emily probably speaks to them pretty frequently. And I've dealt with them in the past. What they will do is, and especially with someone like the gentleman you're describing, probably the first time he might blow them off. But when it's the same person coming back a second, a third, a fourth time, and they're offering shelter, and they're offering that, they're offering to give him a free, after a while, there is a relationship that's built. And I know you're a social worker, so you know a lot about this. I'm kind of just saying it so everyone else in the call.
Oh, yeah,
understands it when you're
absolutely.
But it does help build a rapport, and eventually, they are likely to then accept that help. And, that's what we're all after, right? We're after everybody to get into a home and to be in a safe environment. And, God forbid this guy's out there on one of these rainy days and there's lightning or, whatever.
It could be so many things. And it's in such a dark corner that they could literally run him over and you won't see it. Like, that's how dark that corner is that he's sleeping in.
And Leslie, I was thinking of you this month because did I email you that
Yes.
So I'm going to tell everyone else.
Yeah.
So Leslie had been on the call a month or two ago. We're talking about deer signs, and there was a deer. I was coming home very late one night, and I was driving, and what I see in the kind of the corner of the road and one of the poorly lit roadways, it was actually a City Island road, but between the Pelham Bay Bridge and Rodman's Neck, there was a deer, an actual deer, and I have photos of it and everything, and I almost hit it and I wasn't even going that fast. So what I did is I turned my car around and I parked right in front of the deer and then put my hazards on, because after I put on my hazard, I must have seen like 3 cars just, because again, it was like, early morning hours zooming by, and eventually the police did arrive. to administer care. But just so you know, I did send all those photos to DOT because I'm still after them for the deer signs. But since you opined, it just triggered the last issue we were working on together. So I felt the need to let everybody know, but we are still after them for more deer signs.
Yes.
Ironically, it was in one of the areas, one of the 3 areas where there are no signs right now. And I pointed that
Mhm.
out. There's not even an area where they need to reposition the signs, which I know is your viewpoint, and I kind of agree with. But it was an issue where there are no signs, and it was an issue where the lighting is so poor. So when we have our big tour day, which I know Clementina's going to come to, I'm actually just marking you down because I had already told you you'll be coming with us because need your help as well.
Okay,
Okay.
absolutely.
Does-
Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to add before we close down this meeting? Okay, well, guys, it's been a great meeting. Thank you all. Excellent participation. And if you need us, call us, email us, social media. Good night and good luck.